Fire Department, Volunteer Fire Department, also for having us this evening. So we look forward to an informative evening and a fun evening as we get to celebrate the recipient of the 2022 OG Award, which is very exciting. So I will go to my notes and introduce you quickly again to everybody on the board. I say again, for some of you know us and some of you don't. So as I introduce you, can you please stand up? So Darren Schneider, our Vice President. And you don't have to applause every time, even though we love Darren. Chris Lane, treasurer, and treasurer for a nice long time. But you should have told him he's now stepping off, and he will be voting in a new treasurer. But we thank Chris for a lot of good years of help. Thank you. Mark Ducray, secretary. And so much more, and I think all of you probably know Mark. Dave Johnson. We have Victoria Martin Young in the back. Yeah. Michelle Waugh. And Ryan Hackett. Allison Barlow's not here this evening, but she's also on our board. Matt McCabe. Is Matt over there? Joanne O'Hara, I don't know if she made it. Where's she? No. Okay, Amanda Bates. What's here? Oh, there we go. And Marion Brogdon. So thank you. So we are your board, and we're very happy to help. Our mission at the Old Greenwich Association is to preserve the community. So keep that top of mind, and we hope that we do that every day. And you must reach out to us and let us know how we can do so. So I introduced the board, and we also need to vote in Mark, the board again for this year as per our bylaws. And we wanted to nominate our new treasurer, Alan J. He's lived in Old Greenwich for 25 years and has raised 3 children here who all attended the high school. He's treasurer of the Old Timers Athletic Association and serves on the board of the Greenwich Scholarship Committee. He's also a past treasurer for the Rocky Point Club, and he's a senior vice president, wealth advisor at Morgan Stanley. So we are nominating him, we'll do so formally, as the treasurer to replace Chris Lane. So just a bit of business before we get to the fun stuff.
Why don't you change the slide to the, let me change the slide to the,
Can I do it?
to the board. Sorry. Doing 2 things at once there.
We have so many more people than last time. It's really exciting. So I'm just getting used to the room, which is really full.
I have a slide for it, but that's okay. I'll just read the name. So hi everyone, this is the boring portion of the evening. We'll get to some more exciting stuff. But the proposed slate of OG officers and board members for 2023 is Carolyn Peterson, President, Darren Schneider, Vice President, Alan J. Treasurer, Mark Ducray, Secretary, Dave Johnson, Victoria Martin Young, Michelle Waugh, Ryan Swan Hackett, Allison Barlow, Matt McCabe, Joanne O'Hara, Amanda Bates, and Larry Brogdon. Do I have any nominations from the floor? Hearing none, I close nominations. Do I have a motion from the floor to elect the slate as proposed? Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, this is your slate for 2023. The officers have been elected. Thank you very much.
Okay, so just some stats, which should be interesting for you all as we continue to grow. And we've been around for a good long time, but we're still always growing. We are currently at 900 members or subscribers. We have about 2,800 households in Old Greenwich, both north and south of the Post Road, because we're all of us OG. So I think at 900 out of 2,800, that's a pretty good contribution, but we can go further from there. For Instagram and all of the social media sites, we've grown exponentially. In great part, thank you to Michelle Waugh, who's forward on that effort. And so we've gone from basically nothing in the pandemic on Instagram to now 1,200 followers. Yes, followers. And Facebook, we are just about at 1,000. And Twitter, we have about 900. So really nice numbers. This room is nice and full of numbers. And so we appreciate it. Please spread the word. We'd like to hope that we're back and pretty well engaged, and so we need your help to keep spreading that word. Okay, 3 things that we are going to be at in the spring. Mark, you have that?
Sure.
Upcoming events. We're, of course, going to be at Live Like Luke, the beach cleanup on Earth Day, which is Saturday, April 22nd. So we hope that we'll see you there. And I think we announced last time, and we've picked a date for the scavenger hunt that we're going to do in OG in partnership with the Historical Society, which is very cool, on May 21st, starting at 10 o'clock. So more information will come out with that. We think that's a really cute one. And then, of course, the Memorial Day Parade. So without further ado, we should move to the main event, really, which is honoring the recipient of the 2022 OG Award. So if we can have Fred, who's here, and Fred is going to present it, but if I can just explain what it's for, come. I think he trumps everything. Okay, so the award recognizes the significant contribution of an individual or group to the enhancement of the Old Greenwich community. It is a public display of thanks for contributions that should be acknowledged. It is also a means of creating role models for the Old Greenwich community and the town of Greenwich, which can be emulated with the full understanding that individuals, groups shape communities. So hang on to those words, they're good ones. They're really good ones. So we're very excited to award this to, I'll let Fred do this part.
Sure. Right there, okay. Thank you, Carolyn. Good evening, everybody. There's so many things to love about our town, but my favorite is the civic participation. We're a town of volunteers, and tonight we're here to honor one of them, a person that's been doing it for a real long time. Peter, congratulations. Peter Yuri, for all you do, and you're not slowing down at all, but it's pretty impressive. You've been here for a while. I could almost call you a townie, not quite, but you're close. We'll make you an honorary townie. But I want to thank you on behalf of everybody in the town for all that you do, and especially your interests. And I'll read the proclamation now, which those interests will be in here. Whereas Peter Yuri has lived in Greenwich for 50 years and has long supported the vital balance between open space and development in town. And whereas Peter has engaged in activities to improve our parklands and commercial areas for the public good, and whereas Peter has long set an example of what the good work that volunteering and commitment to community can accomplish. Whereas Peter has made the improvement and maintenance of Binney Park, one of his favorites, one of the jewels the town has to offer, a major priority that acts and benefits residents throughout the town. And whereas the Old Greenwich Association, as well as other community groups, including the Greenwich Audubon, Greenwich Green and Clean, and the Friends of Binney Park, have benefited from Peter's long history of volunteering. Now, therefore, I, Fred Camillo, the first selectman of the town of Greenwich, do hereby proclaim February 1st, 2023, as Peter L. Yuri Day in the town of Greenwich, and urge all our residents to join me in celebrating Peter's many decades of contributions to our town. Peter, congratulations.
Charlie, you should get me.
We also have this plaque. We have a plaque.
Wow.
Alex?
Yes. So, hold that up. We need a picture first. Okay, look here.
Thank you, Fred. And thank you so much, Carolyn. I was sitting in the back next to a former OGA board member when she and I served together for many years. And I said, I don't know that I'm worthy of this award. I mean, after all, I look around this room and there's so many people who do so much for this community. And she said, well, maybe not, but you've just been doing it longer than Patricia for that.
Trying to suggest you're old.
Old Greenwich is super. It always has been super. And your interest in it is reflected by being here tonight. More exciting for me is after 3 years of being in the shadows, the Old Greenwich Association has emerged again in a robust way and is doing what it should do. And it's so important to keep after our community, which is, and I live in Riverside, by the way, the other side. The dark side, right? It's, there's something special about Old Greenwich. It was put in perspective for me years ago when a neighbor down in the Edgewater area where we lived for 42 years said, I'm moving to Reston, Virginia. He worked with Mobile Oil. His name was Joe Quimper. So he moved his family down to Reston. And about 2 months later, I had occasion to go down on business. And I saw Joe and I said, how is it down here in Reston? He said, it's a very nice community. But he said, I've got to drive 5 miles to the shopping center and 3 miles to the gas station and 2 miles to the nursery. And school means the kids got to get in a bus. And he said, what's special about Old Greenwich is that if you were to put a fence around it and seal everybody in, you could be perfectly content and have virtually everything you wanted with the exception of a movie theater. It shows how old that story is, right? So think about Old Greenwich and all the assets it has and offers you as residents. Even those of us in Riverside benefit from the village. There's no other part of town that's called the village. It's right here. And it's important that you keep it up. All of us keep it up. Carolyn, I'll stop. I'm gonna take a bumper sticker.
And we have magnets, car magnets. So that's your inspiration, guys, Mr. Yuri. So congratulations. Seems a funny thing to segue off of that to business, but Pete, you'd have us go to business, wouldn't you?
Yep.
Okay. So that feels good, right? So we're back. I think that Pete might have invented the award. Did you? I don't know. Did you? Anyway, he's trying. Let's go to Janet, please. Janet Stone-McWiggin.
So thank you. That is a really hard act to follow. Congratulations, Pete. And thank you to the Old Greenwich Association for giving me this opportunity to let you know about one of my favorite activities in Greenwich. I am Janet Stone-McWiggin. I'm not just an Old Greenwich neighbor. I also serve on your Board of Selectmen. And one of my favorite official responsibilities is to co-chair the Greenwich Sustainability Committee. So I know that you've got a full agenda. I'll be very quick, but I'll just let you know that the committee was established 3 years ago, and it just keeps getting better with age. Its mission is to support all things sustainability in Greenwich. Its guiding principles come from the Plan of Conservation and Development and Sustainable Connecticut. It is formed by about not quite 40 like-minded local nonprofits. We're organized into about 8 different sectors. And it's basically a network with town departments and other bodies. And it's just a fabulous group. We have a really good year coming ahead of us. First and foremost, we have a new director of environmental affairs, who will be my co-chair. Her name is Beth Evans. She's fantastic. We are sorry to see Pat Sester go, but thrilled that we'll be working with Beth. And so the committee is prepared to support her in every way. Fred is still here. We also look forward to the fact that if you look at our town's operations plans, at the top of the first selectman's goal for the year is to build on the sustainability committee's success. So thank you, Fred, and we stand ready to support that goal in any way we can. We're also looking forward to next December when hopefully the town will come up with a climate action plan. In August, the Board of Selectmen passed a climate resolution, and the Conservation Commission has taken that charge up. And so there's a working group that is just forming. 3 members of the Conservation Commission, myself, and a member of the Sustainability Committee will be working on that. But before we get there, we are looking forward to celebrating Earth Day, and the committee has established a sustainability award. So do look out for an upcoming nomination request because we want to honor everyone in our community who helps us in our mission. So lastly, how can you get involved? We meet monthly, typically the first Thursday of the month from 11 to 12:30. And if you'd like to join us, just go to the town calendar and there are details about how to join us. So thank you all. Thank you for your time and thank you very much.
Thank you, Janet. Next, we have Patrick LaRoe with Planning and Zoning. Sorry, not met Patrick yet. There you are. Hi. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Pat LaRoe. I am the Director of Planning and Zoning. Some of you may know my predecessor, Katie DeLuca. I'm the new Katie. But I'm not new to town. I have been here for 15 years working with the town. I've been with the department that whole time. I've been the Deputy Director for the last 5 years. I'm also a Riverside resident, North Miami kids. So this is my town too. And just to share with you briefly a very neat initiative that we're undertaking right now that was born out of the POCD. So that's our 10-year plan for those all of you that don't know the alphabet soup that we tend to use in our field here. So out of the 2019 plan, we had a number of goals, and one of those was to create an advisory group to look at making Route 1 more attractive, quite frankly, and not to slight Route 1, but that was a big feedback point of our plan. We reached out to a number of community groups and districts, and that was one of the top 5, I'd say, things about Greenwich that people did not like was just the look of Route 1. So we created a Greenscape committee. It's a working group made out of members of the commission and some skilled landscape architects, arborists, plant people in town. And we were looking at using Putnam Ave as sort of the showcase for an idea. And that idea is born out of planting or replanting more or less Route 1 from, you can go to the next slide, thank you, from Portchester to Sanford. And so the goal is, these are just some of the guiding principles. I won't read through all of them right now because they're quite lengthy. But again, it's about climate change, heat island effect, improving the visual experience, creating diversity or visual and also natural diversity along Route 1, filling in places where things have gone wrong possibly. Shout out to the state. And also just creating a better experience for people to walk, ride, drive along Route 1. So it's not sort of a highway alternative. Next slide, please. So the plan is a we're calling it the Putnam Ave beautification plan. We got time to change that if anyone has any objections to it. And so we're looking at the post road to make it more welcoming. So right now we have gone through an exhaustive we walked the whole route from town, from edge to edge. And we've identified locations for over 300 trees to go back in. That's spread out along the whole length, all 5.5 miles of it. And so we are endeavoring to do that. And the reason why we're looking at Route 1 is because that's a state right of way, and so we need the state's blessing to do it. So we're going to be filing this week, actually, our pre-permit, which sounds like a ridiculous statement, but that's what we have to do, where we are going to, thank you, we're going to look to do some similar vignettes or setups like we have already in town. So this is downtown. This is one of the areas that people said was successful in the way that we planted, and the town has maintained it. Where the DPW is actually doing the other side, and it's pretty soon, so it's going to look the same on both sides of the street. The next vignette is near Christ Church. It was another hotspot. Everyone said that's a place that they like, and that kind of visual. Again, these are just sort of spurring the ideas of what we're trying to replicate in other locations. Next slide. This is Route 1 before the massacre. Exit 5 before the massacre. So again, this was a spot that people liked, especially in the spring when everything's full and lush, and we had trees on both sides. And then even along, we have those Old Post Road little bump outs that come along, and again, these are all pretty well planted. There's 3 of them actually on town. There's one, if you remember, as you all know, Indian Field, excuse me. So these are areas that we look to perhaps plant similarly or enhance on that. And then the last one I happen to particularly like just by the time of year, noticing just the diversity of the plants that we have, the trees that we have along there. So in the fall, the foliage pops. We've got all those auburns and browns and reds that make New England great. So we've selected a number of plants. Next slide, thank you. This is just a little sample sheet of what we have been thinking, and these are all selected not just by their aesthetic quality, but their ability to sort of take the beating that they may get along Route 1. So these are good street trees. They're not all deciduous or leafy. There's some evergreens, and there's a little diversity. And so every part of town will get a little mix, and sometimes it'll be distinct. So there may be certain trees that are in Costco that we won't see in Old Greenwich, Riverside, etc. So we'll be creating sort of these little sections of the road so people can hopefully identify their neck of the woods by possibly tree types and the flowering and the seasons and things like that. So these are just examples of where we're looking. And again, it's in the state right away, so we're not looking to plant deep into lots or obstruct anybody's private property rights. We're taking care of this in our own right of way. So these will be our trees along the highway. This is exit 5. Riverside Commons is across the street. The green labels are the new trees. Those circles are the existing trees. Next slide is Sound Beach Ave and Route 1. So we're tackling the mass loss that we had a couple years ago on that corner. That's about 45 trees just in that bottom corner there. And just from exit 5 all the way to Stanford is almost 100 trees that are going to be planted. And again, that's out of the 300 locations that we've selected along Route 1. Next slide. Moving a little farther down, we're getting past the Taco Bell and all those, this is the new Mavis, used to be called Chevrolet. Planting some of those. And I think this will be the last slide right here. One more? Okay. Yep. So that was, that was in front of Tanya Ness, the old vet complex there. So that's the initiative. The next phase is, again, the pre-app. We are going to go to the state. The state's going to come down and walk or inspect the locations we've chosen. And if they're okay with that, then we can hopefully start planting probably would be next spring, ideally, if not sooner. The biggest thing is that this is all being done in partnership with the Tree Conservancy and as our primary sponsor. So the trees are not being purchased; they're going to be donated. And as we see fit, we're going to try to do as much as we can in the largest chunks that we can, as logistically feasible. So that is that, and I'm happy to take any questions right now if you want to.
Thank you so much, Pat. And we'll have this posted on the website as well as the next presentation, which is from DPW. Hi, Gabriella, right? Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Tom. Good evening. Thank you to the Old Greenwich Association for allowing Public Works to present tonight. My name is Gabriella Sarcosta-Cohe. I'm a senior civil engineer with the Town of Greenwich Department of Public Works Engineering Division. I've been working for the town for the past 15 years. I can go ahead to the next slide. For those of you that are not familiar with the Department of Public Works, except for leaf pickup and snow removal, our responsibility is to efficiently and effectively maintain and improve town infrastructure. In the engineering division, where I am, we're responsible for 84 bridges, 5 dams, and 1 levee. I also oversee several traffic improvement projects, stormwater upgrades, and any other special projects that are needed to support our other departments in town, such as the Department of Parks and Recreation. I was involved in the major dredge cleanup at Biddy Park about 5 years ago. You can go ahead to the next slide. So what I have here are the most recent top 5 projects in Old Greenwich right now. And throughout the presentation, I'll try and make it quick, but for each of these projects, we have a project webpage, and I'll be providing the QR codes for those project webpage. So if you were to post this presentation on your website for those who aren't able to make it tonight, or if you want to go back and take a look, you can just scan the QR and bring you right to the project webpage if you want to find out more information. So we have many projects throughout town, but specifically to Old Greenwich. We have the Sound Beach Avenue Bridge, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. The Sound Beach Avenue Bridge is straight center. I'm sure, if you live in Old Greenwich, you probably drive past the construction zone maybe 2 or 3 times a day. You can go ahead to the next slide. Yes, please. So the Sound Beach Avenue Bridge is 100% reimbursable project through the LOTSIP program. I submitted the application for that grant, and so we were able to receive the funding for that. We're very close to wrapping up that project, which I'm sure you're all relieved. Right now, they're working on the stone veneer of that project. The exterior walls will be starting pretty soon, and they're working on the sidewalk and the ADA pedestrian ramps right now. The RRFBs, which are the flashing rapid beacons at the crosswalks, will be delivered in February. Aquarion, the only thing outstanding right now is Aquarion has to install the water main, so we're waiting on Aquarion for that. And the landscape and final paving, which will happen sometime in April once the plant's open again. So we're pretty close, and we'll be happy when it's all over. The next one is it's a very minor. Next slide, please. Very minor project compared to the large dredge that we did almost 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I had 10,000 cubic yards removed from the upper and lower parts of Benny Pond. It was a lot of sediment that needed to be decanted because it had a lot of moisture in it. This is a very small project. During that time when we did the large dredge, we took the opportunity to create 2 sediment forebays. So basically, where the 2 streams enter Vinny Ponds, it collects and traps the sediment so it doesn't defer to the next basin, so that we can prevent completing a major dredge every 25 years, which can be expensive. So what we're doing is we're removing the material biannually, and at the moment we're just waiting for the bridge project to be complete because they're stirring up some sediment at the moment. We're waiting for them to be done so we can go in and remove the material, and so we have a continuous maintenance contract in effect to be done every 2 years. So it's very minor impact to the park, but definitely much needed. Could go on to the next one. So this is the Westcombe Wood Road Bridge. The Westcombe Wood Road Bridge is in major need of replacement. We finally received the DEP permit. I applied for the grant under the local bridge program. This is also reimbursable, but up to 50%. We are going out to bid in about 2 weeks, and we're hoping to secure a contractor. Hopefully we get some favorable bids, and so that we can sign a contract and start construction just after the fireworks are displayed around July 3rd. I know the fireworks are scheduled for July 1st, so we'll be starting shortly after that. And there's a QR code if anyone's curious to find out more information on the history of the project and what we're doing. But basically, I've worked with Peter Yuri and the rest of the Friends of the New Park to establish a great landscape plan to restore the area and also provide crosswalks across the street to connect both the upper and lower parts of the new park. There's a sidewalk currently that dead ends at the bridge, so we will be continuing that sidewalk across the bridge. So definitely a lot safer for pedestrians and anyone with strollers, walking, biking. Definitely a lot safer for the pedestrians. We recently had the detour approved by the Department of Parks, Board of Selectmen, I'm sorry. So once the construction starts, the detour will take effect, which will go through Sound Beach Avenue to West End Avenue, Drinkwater Place, and then back to Arch Street. That is the designated route, detour route for trucks, but anyone familiar with the area knows the shortest way around. I'm sure everyone will get used to it. You can go ahead to the next slide. The Shore Road Sidewalk Project. This was a project that had great interest from the community. It's a major safety improvement. The money for this project, town tax dollars, was approved in the last year's fiscal budget. Currently, in the fall, actually, DPW Engineering had a survey of the area completed and currently is in the schematic phase of the design portion. They're working out with the homeowners directly for any conflicts in order to develop those plans. We're looking to go to construction sometime this summer or fall, weather dependent, and if the contractor is available to get this done, it'll definitely be a major improvement to the community. We could go to the next one. The Cohen Eastern Greenwich Civic Center. This is under construction. As of today, the foundation walls and footings have been installed, and crews are progressing through the underslab utility installation. The next steps are for the delivery of the steel, and everything is still on schedule according to the Building Construction and Maintenance Division. They're the ones that are overseeing this project. And yeah, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to scan the QR code, give us a call, visit the project webpage, and give us any feedback or complaints. We're open to your, if anyone has anything to say. Thank you.
Okay, so we're halfway through our speakers, and we have James Waters speaking to us now about the OGS renovation.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Carolyn. My name is James Waters. I'm the chairman of the Old Greenwich School Building Committee. Tonight, I want to provide you an update on our progress on renovating Old Greenwich School. Our building committee's been hard at work since we formed in October. In the last 16 weeks, we've met 21 times and made significant progress in making the OGS renovation actionable. We owe tremendous thanks to our team of volunteers. I'm a volunteer as well, who've made this happen. There are several members of the building committee here tonight. Would you guys please raise your hands? So Old Greenwich is exceptionally lucky to have such an exceptional group of people. I think the word is getting out around town that our committee is actually collaborative and thoughtful and working as a team to get something done. So there's no doubt, I think, in anybody's mind in this room that the Old Greenwich School requires an urgent renovation. Sadly, this project has been deferred multiple times over the years, as you all know. Let's quickly take a step back. In 2018, the Board of Ed did their facility master plan, which identified Old Greenwich School as requiring a renovation. The Board of Ed went through the process of doing their feasibility study, and they agreed on ed specs in October 2021. As a reminder, key points that are going to be addressed in the ed specs: bringing the school into compliance with the 1990 Americans with Disabilities Act, including the installation of an elevator, creating a single secure entryway for visitor management, managing stormwater to prevent further flooding and raw sewage seeping into classrooms, adding a building-wide sprinkler system to adhere to the fire code, addressing health issues with a building-wide HVAC system, and ensuring that new classrooms address a strong, sustained school enrollment at OGS in a 21st century learning environment. So the things I just said, the OGS renovation is focused on must-haves, basic things every school in the United States should have. So your building committee has rolled up its sleeves to examine the ed specs. We put together, solicited, analyzed proposals from architects, owners reps. We've interviewed candidates. We've analyzed costs. And we've begun the process of interfacing with stakeholders like tonight and members of the community. 2 weeks ago, the Board of Ed unanimously approved our unanimously recommended architect, a firm called Silver Petroselli and Associates. They have some really good ideas, and we're excited to work with them. Last week, we were overwhelmed with the support that the community showed for the OGS renovation at the BDT public hearing. Nearly 100 residents, many of you who are in this room tonight, spoke or wrote in support. More than any other project, it wasn't really close. However, we were disappointed with the recommendation last week that the OGS renovation be deferred for yet another year. Unfortunately, one of the consequences of this recommendation is that it would actually be deferred for 2 years until summer 2025 with fiscal year 26, depending how into town politics you are, because there's no incremental funding to complete the pre-construction phase. So we're taking a hard look at the numbers, and we're going to talk to the BET next week to see if we can remedy that. And as I've said publicly several times, the building committee is confident that we can move forward in the next year if funds are provided. In my mind, speaking as the chair of one building committee, as someone who attended Central Middle School, we can do both at the same time. There's no reason we can't. I'm not dependent, my committee is not dependent on Central for anything. We are completely independent. But it does, at the end of the day, it comes down to fiscal choices. So you may recall $24.5 million has been estimated for the OGS renovation, in addition to the $1 million seed money they gave us to get started. So we're going to continue to refine our costs and the estimates and ensure it's consistent with the scope of the project and current construction costs. But look, as we hire our professional team, architects, owners, reps, all that kind of stuff, at the forefront of our mind is on time, on budget. So in the coming months, we're going to solicit input from the Old Greenwich community, and we'll provide updates along the way. Everybody here knows OGS has been an important centerpiece of the village for, well, since 1902. So, you know, look, your input and advocacy on this are critical. We hope you will lean in and encourage your neighbors to lean in as well. So with that, I'm sorry, all that is a verbal update. I don't have pretty slides to show you yet. We'll get there. We're not quite ready to do that yet, but thank you very much.
Now we have, is it on? We have Kanako McLennan, I can't say that very well. Kanako, coming to speak for Friends of Vinnie Park.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Calvin and the Old Greenwich Association for providing to speak about Friends of Vinnie Park this evening. I see many familiar faces, but for those who don't know me, my name is Kanako McLennan. I moved from Tokyo to Old Greenwich with my husband in 2006. We have raised two boys, now teen, attending Greenwich High School. I still remember when we moved here, we felt so welcome by this family-oriented community with a lovely beach, good school, a library, and a wonderful Vinnie Park. Our house is about 2 minutes walk from Vinnie Park, and it has been like an extension of our own backyard where the boys have walked, biked, climbed the trees, watched the fireworks, and played tennis. We love the park. And I'm excited to have the opportunity to represent Friends of Vinnie Park. Friends of Vinnie Park was launched last September with 15 board members, with 6 people on our advisory board. And that is thanks mostly to Pete Yuri. We are already planning several events, including the sale of artwork related to the park donated by Susie Simpson, a series of spring walks, likely co-sponsored with Parrot Library and local organizations, volunteer days, concerts, and educational class days for families and children. And to expand our support base, we are putting together a friendship circle, mailing list, and invite anyone interested to sign up and become a member. There is no cost to join, and members will receive upcoming news alerts, and news alerts will also be posted on Friends of Binney Park website, which we hope to have in place very soon. And here are 2 ways to join. It is very easy. Use the QR code on the handout to access the digital membership form, or simply send us an email at friendsofbinneypark@gmail.com. We hope that you will join. We hope that you will join us and help preserve and enhance, keyword, our beloved Binney Park. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing many of you at the Binney Park.
Thank you, Council. And Darren Schneider from our board is going to actually update us on Stop I-95 Noise in partnership with Riverside Association.
Thank you, Carolyn.
There you go.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Darren Schneider. I've been living here for 15 years in Old Greenwich. I've got 4 kids going through the schools and going through OG. 2 are away right now in college, but I'm happy to volunteer here at OGA for my 4th year. My first task 4 years ago at OGA was to put the Christmas lights up in Binney Park. Mark was smart enough to bring a 10-foot ladder because my 8-foot ladder didn't work. Dave Johnson was fortunate enough to bring a pair of gloves. And Pete Uri, whom I love dearly, brought his measuring stick to make sure every piece was 6 inches perfectly down the 10-foot hole. Now, I love Pete's attention to detail, but at 28 degrees on November 30th, at 8 o'clock in the morning, with 4 kids, there were a rush. But we did get it done, and the park always looks beautiful with those lights. So now faced with another arduous task, the I-95 Stop Noise Greenwich update. So there's a large project looming from the state of Connecticut that's going to go from exits 2 to exit 6, and it's going to construct, it's multifaceted, and it's a very large project. So this state project was initiated in 2017, and there was a couple of needs that needed to take place: pavement, bridge preservation, safety, lighting, improvements at exit 3, and it was a fairly large 20-year fix. And it's not a 20-year fix, it was 20 years of neglect to be fixed within 4 years. Yes, thanks. And, oh, sorry, yeah. So it was a large project costing around $205 million. So ultimately, or thankfully, 400 negative comments were all received, many from Greenwich, which was great. And it really commented about the noise pollution, the noise of the bridge joints, and there's the pavement so loud, and unfortunately a lot of the clear cutting and vegetation removal that unfortunately existed like about less than a year ago, unfortunately. So there was just a massive outrage, which is great. That's what's great about volunteering and as other volunteers, and everyone, everyone's voice is hopefully always heard. And they could not address all the comments, or not even 50%, or not even like 30%. So the great news is they withdrew the project, which is good news. So ultimately, they are now reconsidering the process, and they initiated a health study. PEL. So a PEL study is it's an extensive, maybe two and a half year study, and it involves the Federal Highway Administration. You've got to remember this is Connecticut, so when you get the federal people involved, that's actually good. There's lots of additionally more planning and environmental and community concerns, which are typically not addressed and not put in. And they identify key issues and really take, the extra time, including any ESG or environmental policies, and helps phase this large project. So just backing up, Connecticut has 4 large projects that I think are done. One was the I-84, I-91 interchange, one was up in Woodbury and Route 8, the Danbury Route 7 interchange, and then there's the 7 to 9 exits. You gotta remember we're exit 2 to 6, but that's the 7 to 9. The PEL study there's phase 1 and phase 2. It really, this is the timeline of how it occurs. It occurs maybe it can occur within a 2 to 2.5 year period. So thank you, Mark. So it's a group of stakeholders formed to provide input during the PEL process. It allows for constructive dialogue from various perspectives. It's really the beauty about this is the two-way communication between the team and the stakeholders. We are ultimately the stakeholders, and I'll get into who's involved as stakeholders right now, and the more the merrier. And it identifies short-term measures, which is less than 3 years, medium-term measures 4 to 5 years, and ultimately, longer-term measures, which is maybe 6 to 8 years. The nice part about this is that it was upgraded to a tier 1, which means that the federal highway can get involved at a tier 1. That's like the ultimate priority. And more importantly, any type of mitigant for noise reduction in the decibels of the noise pollution could be there. So at one point there was no barriers, but anything, whether we have barriers or not, it's still way early, but any single thing that can help mitigate the noise could and would be considered is on the table, which is great. It's always great to start with, everything that's there as opposed to just half of things that are there. So the steps so far is, if you just went to August 22 at the top, and the independent contractor was chosen. This is not from us, this is from Connecticut. Contract was signed, they did a traffic study. The traffic study thankfully is done. They then began planning this PEL project and additional documentation. They have been working, thankfully, with the town officials, and I'll get to that in a second. But also what's nice is every homeowners association in Greenwich, we're not homeowners association, but every volunteer association like us here at OG has also, has a voice and has a seat at the table. So I'm probably going to forget them all, but there's a Byram Association, it's Riverside Association, it's us, Old Greenwich Association. And there's I don't know if there's, I have the list here, I'm sorry, I just get back like 5 minutes ago. So yeah, I'll get to the associations there, but the nice part about it is I believe it's fairly represented in all of Greenwich, including all the associations that want to help out. Millbrook was another association that I remember, and there's one other one. So February to March of this year, we are kicking off another round of meeting with town officials, nonprofit schools, neighborhood associations to begin the process. And we are to meet monthly. It's probably going to slip to, maybe every 6 weeks, and minutes will be circulated around. Anything that I ever get in the future will be on the Old Greenwich Association. Keep everyone in the loop and informed. As fast as I get it, it'll be on there within the same day. So involved so far that we have on the last couple of meetings, which is great, and this is just wonderful. It shows how great of a town that we live in, and thanks to Fred and crew. But we obviously have the Department of Transportation, got the Chief of Highway Design. These are all Connecticut people. Fred has been on all the calls, including Steve and Harry, and our state senator Ryan as well. What's also nice is we have, the commissioners of the Department of DPW, and we have a volunteer president, which is Greg, and the Tree Conservancy executive director also is there. And then well, they're not volunteers, but then when you go down to the Greenwich Coalition coordinator, Patty Roberts, she's the coordinator for all of the 6 or 7 organizations like ourselves, Old Greenwich, Riverside, Cost Cobb, Millbrook, Byram. So it's nice in that all these people so far are the stakeholders, and we look to get more people involved if so be. So, Mark, just go one more, I'm sorry. And one more. Was that the last one? Okay. The key points really at the end of the day is that we do have a seat at the table, which is awesome. We typically rarely do not. We do at this time, which is great. It's still early in the process too. So we didn't lose anything, and everything is available to us. All options are on the table right now, which is great. We prevailed in getting a traffic study done, a noise study done as well, to show really and highlighting the extent of the problem. So that's it. The noise study will be done, it's been done, but there's a formal one that's done in about another 2 more months. The nice part about it is right after that noise study there's a short-term solution where we're able to do some short-term refurbishing, and I'll get to that in 1 second. So, and the last part of this key point is when this whole project is done, we hope to achieve at least a 30% reduction in noise. Which, I hope we can exceed that, but that's the goal here. So Mark, if you just go back one up the other way and just, yeah, that's perfect. So the short-term project that will occur right after this noise study is done. We didn't really want to do this now because with our luck, we start mitigating some noise right now, and then it reduces the noise study, and then we don't have all the tools possibly available. So as soon as this noise study is done, we are going to do a pavement preservation, which they're going to grind up 3 inches and put new stuff in there. It is a short-term fix. It doesn't address any of the stuff. It could possibly be ripped up in 5 years when they do this whole massive reconstruction thing. But we also feel that this pavement is the latest and greatest pavement, and it is a certain asphalt that has been known to reduce lots of noise, in the short-term fix. What's nice is, at least I'll tell you, whereas wait 15 years for us for this thing to end, we can have such stuff and construction starting as early as spring of this year, which is great. And Mark, just one more. So the timeline is that the short-term paving preservation construction starts here in spring. It lasts about 2 years, maybe 1.5 years. Traffic study is done. The noise study is kind of done, but it's being formalized right before the short-term solution. The consultant was selected. We're in the middle of phase 1 of the two-phase process. And, that's it. I will, as an OGA member, as an OGA vice president, I sit on all these I-95 things, and I will publish this stuff as fast as possible, just to keep everyone in the loop on that. But I think we all have the same commonality, and the goal is just to reduce the noise. I live that way, and every once in a while I hear the traffic, and it's insane. I never heard that in the 15 years I lived here. So, yeah, trees as well. So, thank you everyone, and have a good evening.
Patient Jane Brash. For leaf blower. High Air's Greenwich, rather.
We got some AAB coordination happening.
Well, let me,
Use this feature. Please make sure your app is running and can access the internet.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And that is, of course, another part of Trumpism. I mean, to be clear here, it's not that Trump totally came in and blew everything up and then the entire community. There were some elements of his
I knew that was going to be hard to coordinate, sorry about that. Who was that? Anyway, here we go. This is Mark. But anyway, I wanted to point out that this was filmed by me. It's like 75 feet. It's not as loud as it was actually louder than this. But you can see this was in June, the end of June, so there were no leaves on the ground. He's basically just blowing the topsoil and ruining the pollinator habitat. All right, so I'm here from Jane Brash. I'm here from 5 Yards Greenwich, and I'm here to talk about gas leaf blowers. Next. So here we go. Gas leaf blowers are incredibly noisy, as we know, as we just heard. At the source, they are more than 100 decibels. At 60 to 83 decibels at 50 feet away. Just for reference, the CDC and the World Health Organization has determined that anything more than 70 decibels causes hearing damage in as little as 2 hours. So just imagine being one of those workers. Other health effects: hypertension, cardiovascular disease, productivity setbacks, and learning loss among children. This is a crazy stat. I'm not putting it up there, but the CIA has established torture limits of 79. So we're basically being tortured by gas leaf blowers. I'd say in addition to, next. So in addition to, still absorbing that, right? In addition to the noise, they're also really, really bad for the environment and for our health. Gas leaf blowers are fueled by two-stroke engines. They're extremely inefficient. They are not regulated. 30% of the fuel emitted is toxic raw exhaust. Just to give you a little reference point, if you were to run a gas leaf blower for 30 minutes, it's the equivalent of driving a pickup truck from New York City to LA. Isn't that shocking? 3 of the 4 most lethal carcinogens are emitted: benzene, formaldehyde, and butadiene. I don't know, it's so awful I can't even say it. The two-stroke engines are linked to, as I said, hearing loss, lymphoma, leukemia, asthma, hypertension, and dementia. Next. Quiet Yards Greenwich, it's a group of concerned citizens. We worked with, first of all, we developed a survey and we sent it out to as many residents as we possibly could, and 700 people responded. 89% said they want change in current rules. Over 60% said they want to ban gas leaf blowers altogether. We researched medical, toxicological, and environmental studies to produce our white paper, which we presented to the town. We spoke with industry manufacturers and local equipment suppliers. We interviewed municipal leaders who had made successful ordinance changes. There are municipalities, and I'll get into that later, who have actually banned gas leaf blowers. We interviewed over 75 landscapers. We coordinated our program and what we plan on proposing through them. And we received support from town officials. Thank you, Alex and Fred, who I think may have left by now, I'm not sure. And we produced with the town a webinar for residents and landscapers on alternatives to gas leaf blower use. Next. This is not the first time that we've tried to curtail gas leaf blowers. It's actually the 3rd time. The first time was 1993, and then again in 2011. Another decade has passed. Still, gas leaf blowers are used year-round. The decibels and the emissions have only doubled. And now what has really precipitated this, I think, is people working from home. People now hear gas leak blowers. Before they would go to work and they wouldn't necessarily hear them. Now they're hearing them and it's really interfering with their ability to work. And many communities are imposing restrictions. We have a lot in Westchester that are imposing restrictions. 31 states now have some restrictions, 320 municipalities, and landscapers are also starting slowly to convert to new technology. A lot of the electric technology is vastly improved. In the long run, although landscapers do have to purchase an electric leaf blower and some batteries to start up, in the long run, it actually saves them money. They don't have to go to the gas station. It's not messy. The workers much prefer to work with electric because they don't have to listen to it. They don't have to breathe the toxic fumes. They don't have to, it spills. They're hard to start. They break down all the time. They're heavy. So as a result, I installed 50% quieter and 0 emissions from electric. So we have happier customers and happier operators next. So what we're proposing is a phased-in plan that allows gas leak blowers to continue for spring and fall cleanups. I mean, we're trying to get this passed, so we're being reasonable. Electric leaf blowers would be allowed all year using the current limits. So the current limits are Monday to Friday, 8 to 6, weekends and holidays, 9 to 3, and only 1 leaf blower per quarter-acre lot. I'm not sure everybody knows that. So we're phasing this in. So each year, I don't know whether you can see that's very small, but each year the time frame in the spring and the fall gets shorter until year 4. And at that point, we're really hoping that everybody is converted over to electric or rakes or whatever. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Next. So what you can do, you can switch to electric. We have a list of green landscapers here, and in fact, we have some green landscapers here. Raise your hands, green landscapers. We use primarily electric and rakes, etc. You can try alternative forms of landscaping, mulch mowing, which works very well. You actually can mulch the leaves and the grass clippings back into your lawn, and it actually really helps your lawn, so you don't have to use fertilizer as much. Compost your leaves. You don't have to remove the leaves, and you can make a big pile and use them as mulch. Contact your local elected representatives and demand change. You can sign our petition, which is here. Read our research. We have an amazing website, quietyardsgreenwich.com, if I may say so. And then spread the word. Thank you.
And is it on?
Put it really close.
Okay, thank you. Steve Meskers, can you have a word? And then we're finished. Unless you want to talk.
So I want to thank everyone. Carolyn had asked me to speak a couple of times, and I said, absolutely don't, but that was in campaign season. Because you're 503C or 501. And so obviously now, since the elections are over and you're stuck with me for 2 years and I'm not campaigning, I'm just here in my role as servant to you. And I want to thank you for your support. I want to thank you for your care and interest. And I want to bring to your attention too that even though I am the principal representative for Old Greenwich, there is a gentleman in the back that has the area that goes from Tomac up to the Post Road, which is 6A in Old Greenwich. And in Riverside, Hector, who's a state rep, also covers from Summit to the Post Road. Generally, I always describe myself as the Post Road to from Stamford to Portchester. But down here in Old Greenwich and Riverside, Hector is part of that representation. So he serves up with me, and he is the ultimate district in the state. There are 151. He's District 151, I'm District 150. Now, in terms of community service to you, what should you expect from us? We work very closely. I want to thank I would principally thank the Riverside Association and Patty Roberts, and I don't know, Susan Foster, who tortured me unmercifully to make sure we did the right things on Stop the Noise. The advocacy from there helped us move the whole project forward. Patty Roberts is carrying it. It's going through the Department of Public Works, but when there is unhappiness, Hector and myself and Rachel and Ryan will be your advocates up in Hartford. So if you need things on the 95 issue, that's us. When we're talking about the local community, if it's Aquarian, Eversource, dual telephone poles, et cetera, I am and Hector are Mr. Potholes for the issues that may concern you. On the good front, James Waters mentioned, I want to thank them for their advocacy for Old Greenwich School. I would encourage you maybe to lean into the BET to advocate for the Old Greenwich School. I think that we're delaying it is unconscionable. I'm very unhappy with that. On the state level, I sit on energy and technology. I've presented a bill. It may float, it may sink. And the bill is looking for educational cost sharing exemption for solar and geothermal. Why is that important? Down here, we send a lot of money to Hartford, and there isn't a lot of sympathy. So generally, we get about a 10 to 15% reimbursement rate on the entirety of the bill. So if you do about Central Middle School, where I'm assuming we're about 80 million, roughly, depending on where the battle ends up, and here we're 24, we can expect a marginal amount of $2 to $4 million. I'm hoping we can incorporate geothermal and solar and get that 100% reimbursed by the state. That is part of my advocacy. The governor says he wants to go green by 240, 250. Now, those of you who aren't worried about climate change, there's an added advantage. If we do geothermal and solar, our run rate on our bill for our heating and cooling will go down. That will leave more for educational endeavor. So whatever side you are on the climate change, I'm not going to have that argument or debate. I'm trying to increase our reimbursement from the state because I think that's what part of the advocacy you want. Apart from that, like I said, we're here, we are your servants up at the state. Sometimes it goes through the town has to be the advocate, and then we have to make it happen. Sometimes we get to be the bully in the room, it depends on the situation. But we are your bully in the room. That's it.
So thank you for your time. We did it in just about an hour, so hopefully we kept your attention and kept you wanting more, all of which will be found on the website. You can dig into all of this. Contact us, info@oldgreenwich.org is our email address. We want to thank Upper Crust Bagels for their treats, and we also want to introduce you to and thank Old Greenwich Baking Company. So you have to come and get one of 2 yummy gluten-free cookies, right? Gluten-free? Old Greenwich Baking Company. So really nice local, thank you so much. I think, and I really want to say again to Mr. Yuri, congratulations. It's a pleasure to honor you.